Welcome to the Nuclear Materials Management and Safeguard System, referred to by the acronym NMMS. My name is Mitch. This module will provide an overview of the core principles for NMMS reporting and reconciliation by U.S. nuclear material operators. This discussion will explore the importance of U.S. nuclear material operators' role in advancing the U.S. government's nuclear material accountancy, materials management, nonproliferation, and safeguards objectives. During this presentation, various aspects involved in NMMS reporting and reconciliation will be discussed. The following topics will be reviewed. We will provide a brief overview of NMMS, including a review of the physical operation and organizational structure of NMMS. Also, we will discuss key NMMS products and services, profile domestic operators that report to NMMS, and identify key equity holders. Next, we will introduce the key concepts behind NMMS reporting, the material balance. We will explain the purpose of the material balance report and regulatory requirements involved. We will discuss the role of NMMS in material accountability, including U.S. facility reporting requirements and the types of forms used in NMMS reporting. We will discuss how the NMMS reconciliation process takes place. And finally, included will be a review of additional tips for NMMS reconciliation. In this beginning section, I will provide an overview of what NMMS is, its purpose, and the function within the nuclear industry. So, let's get started. This program is identified using the acronym NMMSS, pronounced NMMS. NMMS stands for the Nuclear Materials Management and Safeguard System. NMMS is the U.S. national database that tracks and maintains information on the production, location, and inventory of various nuclear materials. NMMS is owned by the U.S. Department of Energy. NMMS is operated to satisfy the needs of the DOE, NRC, and various other U.S. government commitments. Physical operation of NMMS resides in two locations: NMMS Main Operations Center in Germantown, Maryland, and NMMS Second Operations Center in Albuquerque, New Mexico. NMMS data receipt and processing, analysis, and report preparation are all performed inside of a limited area. All NMMS information is subject to classification review prior to release for authorized use. The organizational structure of NMMS requires that the NMMS database is classified and not accessible by the Internet. NMMS is managed by the Department of Energy's National Nuclear Security Administration, NNSA. NMMS is co-sponsored by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission's Materials Control and Accounting Branch, Office of Nuclear Material Safety and Safeguards. NRC utilizes NMMS to support its regulatory functions through this interagency agreement with DOE. Day-to-day operation of NMMS is overseen by the NNSA Office of Nuclear Material Integration Division, NAESH 12. What are some of the key services and products provided by NMMS? NMMS receives, processes, and maintains MC&A data reported by U.S. nuclear operators, including inventories, material movements, both domestic and international, and material balances. NMMS tracks the import, export, and retransfer of U.S. nuclear materials. NMMS tracks nuclear materials in the U.S. that are subject to nuclear cooperation agreements called NCAs. NMMS reconciles inventories at NRC and DOE NNSA facilities. NMMS prepares U.S. government reports in support of IAEA safeguards agreements. NMMS prepares U.S. government reports to support NCAs. NMMS performs analysis of foreign government notifications of receipts, shipments, and retransfers of U.S. nuclear material. Special analysis and information requests are performed by NMMS in support of the executive branch and other U.S. government entities. To give you a feel of how many U.S. facilities report to NMMS and the various fuel cycle stages that interact with NMMS, displayed here is the current profile of the domestic nuclear operators that report to NMMS. There are approximately 400 U.S. facilities reporting to NMMS, including 2 mines mills, 1 conversion facility, 2 enrichment sites, 5 fabrication facilities, 31 research reactors, 94 operating power reactors, 218 other facilities serving in various roles, and 49 DOE and NSA sites. Of the 400 facilities reporting to NMMS, 5 have been selected by the IAEA for additional reporting and review. Additionally, 6 Caribbean island facilities are selected by the IAEA and are identified as location outside facilities subject to reporting for meeting the small quantities protocol rule. NMMS interacts with a diverse group of equity holders to support and perform mission-critical matters that help U.S. facilities meet domestic policy, programmatic expectations, non-proliferation, and national security, in addition to IAEA safeguards agreements and international bilateral treaties. The DOE NNSA is involved with many entities, including Defense Nuclear Security, Naval Propulsion, the Chief Financial Offices, Office of Science, and Environment, Safety, and Health. Domestic interactions include the NRC, Department of State, and the Department of Defense. Internationally, NMMS interests involve the IAEA and numerous nuclear cooperation agreement partners such as Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, and the Euratom partners. The electronic data contained within NMMS is a one-of-a-kind national asset. U.S. exports of nuclear materials for the period of 1956 through 1965, prior to the establishment of the NMMS computer system, was electronically backfitted. NMMS has facility-reported material inventory changes, called transactions, since 1964. NMMS contains facility-reported material inventories since 1965. Note that information contained in NMMS is never deleted. Let us now discuss the primary core concept behind NMMS reporting, the material balance. All DOE NNSA site and NRC licensee facility reporting to NMMS exists to support the material balance. The structure of the material balance report is designed as a mathematical equation, where you would take your beginning inventory amounts and then add all the reported inventory changes that have increased your facility's inventory, which could be possible production of material or materials received from another facility. Then you would apply all the subtraction-related reporting inventory changes, which decrease your inventory, such as decay of nuclear material or materials shipped to another facility. Finally, you would obtain your final ending inventory balances for your material type for the specified time period. A material balance report describes a facility's inventory status for a specified time period. This reporting range would have a start date and an end date where all facility reported inventory changes known as transactions occurring during the period are displayed. This is why the Material Balance Report, DOE NRC Form 742, is an extremely useful tool used as part of the reconciliation process for a facility. This form enables you to compare how reported transactions within the specified time frame affect a facility's projected ending balance for each material type. For NRC facilities, this is a required form to be submitted to NMMS as part of a facility's annual material status report, which would be accompanied with a physical inventory listing, the DOE NRC Form 742C. For DOE facilities, this form may be submitted as part of their material status report, or NMMS can generate a material balance report based off of the site's previous reconciled inventory ending balance in correlation with all the following transactions, DOE NRC Form 741s, that have been reported during the specified time period. When a facility is reporting their material balance report, it is important to note that if a facility has multiple material types, then they would have to complete a material balance report, DOE NRC Form 742, for each of the types of material. So, if a facility has material type 10, which is depleted uranium, and material type 50, which is plutonium, then they would be completing two 742 forms for your facility's MBR. There are many reasons why the material balance is important regarding NMMS reporting. U.S. facilities track nuclear materials. Reporting to NMMS creates a parallel national system for material holdings in the U.S. When U.S. facility quantities match NMMS, called reconciliation, accountability is maintained. The material balance ensures accurate tracking of all U.S. nuclear materials. Also, this practice supports critical government decisions in support of national security and safeguards, nonproliferation commitments, supply chain management, and disposition planning. The material balance is the foundation for all NMMS reporting. Think of a DOE NNSA site or NRC licensee facility as a financial account at a bank. This financial account records money going in and out of the account for the holder of the account, issuing checks and deposits. In NMMS terms, these items are transactional records reported to NMMS using the DOE NRC Form 741. Periodically, the bank will issue a report to the holder of the financial account stating the activity that has occurred since the last report. This correlates to the derived material balance records in the NMMS reconciliation definition. The holder of the financial account will also determine from their own records the holdings that are in their account as of the end of the report, which links to the physical inventory data in the NMMS reconciliation definition. The financial account holder then verifies that their calculation of holdings match that which was reported to them by the bank. This is a basic example of a reconciliation process. As shown in this example, DOE sites and NRC licensees report the movement of nuclear materials in and out of their facilities, as well as any internal activities that may affect their physical inventory. DOE NNSA sites and NRC licensee facilities also report physical inventory data to NMMS. These material balance records may be reported by facilities or generated from NMMS based on transactional reporting, like the bank example. There is additionally specificity and nuance regarding the reconciliation of nuclear materials for DOE sites and NRC licensee facilities, which we will discuss here. So, who has to reconcile with NMMS? Domestic NMMS reporting is governed by two sets of requirements. First, the Department of Energy governance, referred to as DOE requirements, are for DOE and NSA sites and NRC licensee facilities that have DOE-owned nuclear materials in their possession. Also, there are NRC requirements and regulations that are applicable to entities licensed by the NRC that have non-DOE-owned nuclear material in their possession. Both of these requirements provide directions for the reporting of domestic transfers, import and export of nuclear materials, physical inventory, and material balance. So, what are the NMMS reporting guidance documents for DOE and NRC? NRC regulations for NMMS reporting are contained in Chapter 10, Parts 1 through 171 of the Code of Federal Regulations, known as the CFR. The NRC NMMS reporting guidance is referred to as the new regs. The BR 666 provides instructions for completing and distributing nuclear material transaction reports, while the BR 777 provides instructions for the preparation and distribution of material status reports. Note that the material status reports consist of the physical inventory listing and the material balance report. For assistance and guidance for data submissions to NMMS using electronic formats, NRC licensees would use the D24 Personal Computer Data Input for NRC licensees. DOE reporting is based on DOE Order 474.2A, Nuclear Material Control and Accountability, and the NMMS User's Guide. The NMMS User's Guide provides guidance in reporting nuclear material transaction reports, physical inventory listings, and material balance reports. The D23 provides directions for DOE and NSA facilities to electronically report to NMMS. As stated before, DOE and NRC facilities have different requirements when reporting to NMMS, which also applies to the time frame of submitting a facility's MBR. For NRC licensee facilities, licensees who possess less than 350 grams of special nuclear material are required to report their physical inventory on the end of the calendar year, reporting to NMMS between January 1st and March 31st of each year. Licensee facilities possessing 350 grams or more of special nuclear material must report a physical inventory to NMMS at a minimum of once a year using an inventory date of their choice. For DOE and NSA sites, one annual material balance at the end of the fiscal year is requested for all DOE facilities unless there has been additional direction given by DOE and NSA. For example, if a DOE site has been selected by IAEA, there may be provisions cited within the facility attachment or transitional facility attachment, called TFA, that require reporting of a material balance report. Let us introduce the reporting form for the material balance, the key functional foundation for NMMS. Material balance is reported to NMMS using the DOE NRC Form 742. The material balance describes the facility's inventory status for a specified time period for a specific nuclear material, beginning the day after the last inventory date. The ending date for the material balance is the actual current physical inventory date. The combination of the beginning and ending date is called the reporting period. In addition to the beginning and ending balances for each nuclear material, material balance records include the additions to the inventory of the facility during the reporting period, such as nuclear material receipt or nuclear production. Also included in the material balance records are subtractions from the inventory during the reporting period, like nuclear material shipped or decay. Finally, the cumulative totals of foreign obligated nuclear material at the time of the current physical inventory are included in the material balance report. Foreign obligations are categorized in the material balance records by material type and foreign obligated country. Each of these foreign obligations are reconciled to foreign obligation activity reported on nuclear material transactions reported during the reporting period. Foreign obligation verification is an important part of NMMS reconciliation. To summarize, material balance reports are required to be reported by NRC licensee facilities and DOE and NSA sites, either by reporting material balance records or by NMMS deriving the material balance records from transactional activity. Another component of NMMS reporting to discuss is the physical inventory data. Physical inventory data indicates a facility's nuclear material holdings at a specified point in time. Facilities report physical inventory data to NMMS using the DOE NRC Form 742C. The date of the physical inventory must be the same as the ending date for the material balance report. As mentioned earlier for DOE and NRC reporting requirements, U.S. facilities with reportable quantities of nuclear material in their possession must report an inventory to NMMS on an annual basis at a minimum. DOE and NSA sites and NRC licensee facilities report transaction activity to NMMS based on the same criteria mentioned earlier when determining who is required to reconcile with NMMS. This activity involves shipments, receipts, or internal facility inventory changes of nuclear material involving a facility, such as nuclear production, fission and transmutation, decay, and rounding bias. Remember that for both DOE and NSA sites and NRC licensee facilities, shipment transaction activity is reported to NMMS within 1 day, while receipt transaction activity is reported to NMMS up to 10 days after the receipt. These transactional activities are reported to NMMS using the DOE NRC Form 741. Transaction activity is one of the three key measurements by which reconciliation is performed. All transaction activities reported by the facility after the last physical inventory will be evaluated during the upcoming reconciliation for the facility. This data is used by NMMS to derive material balance records for the last inventory through the current inventory to compare how reported transactions during the period affect nuclear material inventory balances. Let us now discuss when NMMS reporting and reconciliation should actually take place. Before discussing requirements for reporting to NMMS, let's discuss the characteristics of the information that is reported to NMMS. The nature of the data provided describe the what, where, when, and who for information that U.S. facilities report to NMMS. What comprises the what descriptive element. Here, facilities may indicate what kind of material you have in your possession. What material are you shipping out? What material are you receiving? What is your inventory adjustment activity? An important element is what is the weight of the material that you're shipping or receiving, and what is the isotopic composition of that material. How about the where regarding information reported to NMMS? Where does the material come from? And where was the material sent to? The when may involve the date that the material was shipped or received, or what date was your inventory performed. And finally, let us review the who. Examples of this condition reporting to NMMS may be who sent you the material and who did you send the material to. Let us discuss in more detail NMMS reporting codes. Think of NMMS reporting codes as the alphabet that you will use to report to NMMS. This alphabet consists of numbers, Roman letters, and the combinations of letters and numbers. This alphabet is referred to as codes. There are specific and unique codes that you must use to report the what, where, when, and who of what you're reporting to NMMS, as mentioned in the last slide. NMMS reporting codes help to efficiently describe and differentiate the complexities that often arise due to the volume of shipments and receipts, the diversity of material and its isotopic composition, the processing of material that is being blended, different statuses on quantities, varying types of customers and suppliers, and different regulatory and treaty-specific requirements. All are described using NMMS reporting codes. One of the key NMMS reporting codes is the Reporting Identification Symbol, the RIS. Each NRC licensee facility and DOE NNSA site is assigned a unique reporting identification symbol. The RIS code remains the same for the life of a facility's license unless the facility requests a new RIS code. A facility must use their RIS code when reporting to NMMS. NMMS tracks each NRC licensee facility and DOE NNSA site by its assigned RIS code. Please contact NMMS if you need help with a RIS code for facilities that you are communicating with. Whether you are shipping to or receiving material from both within or outside of the U.S., a reporting identification symbol, RIS, may be either 3 or 4 characters in length. The first character of the RIS code is critically important. The first character identifies the facility association for the RIS. If the first character consists of a letter between A and Q, that means that the facility, is a Department of Energy NNSA site. If the RIS begins with X, Y, or Z, this is an NRC licensee facility. If the first character of the RIS code is a V, that facility represents a waste disposal area. If the first character of the RIS code is 2, this represents an NRC licensee nuclear material outside of the U.S. facility in the Caribbean islands. In the case of RIS codes that are 4 characters in length, we need to review the 4th character of the RIS code. If the 4th character is the letter H, that RIS represents material discarded to a holding area. If the 4th character is G, that is material released to the ground. A fourth character that is the letter A is material released to the atmosphere. And finally, if the fourth character is the letter L, that risk represents material discarded to a pond or lagoon. Another field to check when there is a four-character risk code is looking at the first character to see if that character is R. In these cases, the R first character denotes that the risk is a foreign facility. Another very important NMMS reporting code is the material type. Material type quantities must be reported to NMMS to the whole reporting unit, except for material type codes 83, 86, and 87, where they are reported to the fractional unit, which we'll be discussing in later slides. There are currently 16 types of nuclear material that are reportable to NMMS by DOE and NSA sites. Depleted uranium, enriched uranium, plutonium-242, americium-241 and 243, curium, plutonium, enriched lithium, uranium-233, normal uranium, neptunium-237, plutonium-238, deuterium, tritium, thorium, and uranium in cascades. Note that this table defines specific information on how each nuclear material is reported, such as the material type code. In addition to the reportable material type code, the reportable unit is listed, which indicates how quantities for that material type are interpreted when reporting to NMMS. Do not include the reportable unit when reporting quantities to NMMS. Also, the representations for element, isotope, and isotope weight percent are specified. Also, the category type for the material is also listed, whether it's source, special, or other. For example, plutonium is listed as reported to NMMS using material type code 50, and the quantities will be interpreted to be in whole grams. Reported element weight represents the total amount of plutonium. The isotope weight, the amount of Pu-239 and Pu-241 in the total, and the isotope weight percent is the percentage of Pu-240 in the total plutonium. Depleted uranium, enriched uranium, plutonium, uranium-233, normal uranium, and thorium are reportable by NRC licensing facilities. Note that when reporting domestically, NRC licensee facilities report material type using the numeric material type codes, the U.S. codes column, as shown on the table here. If you are reporting an import or export as an NRC licensee facility, the IAEA material type codes, which are alpha codes, will be reported to NMMS. Note the exception that the numeric code for uranium and cascades will be used in all reporting, domestic and international. Similar to the material type codes for DOE and NSA, the nuclear material and the material type code, as well as what reportable unit quantities are interpreted as, are listed here. Our next code to discuss is the owner code. This code is used to identify ownership of nuclear material for transaction, physical inventory, and material balance reporting. For nuclear material transaction reports, this code describes the ownership of material received or shipped, or any action that may cause inventory to change. For DOE NRC Form 742C, this code represents the ownership of the material at the time of physical inventory. Please contact the NMMS staff for instructions regarding the proper owner code to be used in a particular circumstance. The owner code field is a one-character field. There are two types of owner codes reported to NMMS. The G owner code represents DOE-owned material, and the J owner code represents non-DOE-owned material. Department of Energy-owned materials are accompanied by project numbers. These are 10-digit codes based on the definitions provided by the Chief Financial Office. Projects tie material to a source of funding, the responsible material managers, and associated safeguards. The first digit of the project number indicates the field element, the responsible facility, followed by the program, subprogram, project, and subproject and task that flesh out the context for how the material is to be used and safeguarded. Project funding and direction can change at any time. Therefore, project numbers can change throughout the fiscal year. Changes outside of the annual review period require what is referred to as an AP, one party project transfer, DOE NRC Form 741 submission, where the P is the action code. Speak with the NMMS analyst for assistance in reporting a P project number transfer to NMMS. The annual project number review is a service provided by NMMS once a year in anticipation of the upcoming fiscal year. Department of Energy field elements review active project numbers defined in NMMS for the current fiscal year to ensure that the project numbers contain active budget and reporting codes and reflect current programmatic needs. The annual project number review begins on August 1st of each year and can last up until NMMS closes the September reporting period. The process impacts federal program managers' field elements, which is to say that the individual facilities, material managers, and material control and accountability analysts at the Department of Energy. Additionally, this process impacts NRC facilities that possess Department of Energy and material ownership allocations will be updated at the conclusion of the process. The project number conversion worksheet, NMMS Report T141, is provided to operations offices and organizations on August 1st. The worksheet will be updated based on budget and reporting codes for the new fiscal year and returned completed by September 30th to NMMS. NMMS analysts update the project numbers in the authority reference in the NMMS system and provide a T141 project number listing for distribution on October 1st. The fiscal year project number conversion takes place at the end of the annual project number review. The conversion is a process where Department of Energy project number inventories and open transactions are converted from old fiscal year projects to new fiscal year project numbers. The conversion takes place at the same time as the close of the September processing period in NMMS. The September period typically closes in early December, after which the conversion will occur. NMMS will still receive data using prior year fiscal project numbers for data involved in reconciliation. When all Department of Energy facilities are reconciled for September, the conversion will be complete and the new fiscal year projects will be activated. The next NMMS reporting code to discuss is the composition code. Composition codes provide context on the chemistry and physical form of nuclear material. The NRC new regs list the codes available for NRC licensee facilities, while DOE and NSA sites may consult the NMMS User's Guide or the D25 report for available composition codes. Now we know the who and when for DOE and NSA sites and NRC licensee facilities describing requirements for reporting to NMMS. There are several key items that are reportable to NMMS correlating to the material balance that are critical for NMMS reconciliation. Material balance information directly relates to nuclear material transaction activity, the DOE NRC Form 741, and to physical inventory data, the DOE NRC Form 742C. Each will be discussed now. The material balance and physical inventory report play a crucial role in NMMS reconciliation. U.S. facility reconciliation with NMMS involves a systematic process to ensure that whatever is reported on the physical inventory listing matches up with the DOE NRC Form 741's nuclear material transaction reports and DOE NRC Form 742, the material balance report. And all of this data has been reported by facilities to NMMS. Additional nuance of NMMS reconciliation is that each material type reported on the material balance and physical inventory listing is reconciled, including individual project number tallies and cumulative quantities of foreign obligated materials. When NMMS records match all of the information in the MBR and physical inventory listing report and the nuanced categories just mentioned, the U.S. facility information reported is considered reconciled with NMMS. The DOE reconciliation process is based on the holdings of nuclear materials at each DOE site as of September 30th of every year. Some of the main quantity categories that are reconciled and must not be in error are project numbers. All of the project numbers reported must be valid project numbers and match project number activities reported on the DOE NRC Form 741 Nuclear Material Transaction Report. The quantity and material for each material type reported must match up with what's based on the NMMS generated physical inventory. Remember that the book inventory is a NMMS calculated inventory based on nuclear material transactions, the DOE NRC Form 741, that are reported to NMMS by the facility. Note that DOE facilities are not required to report the DOE NRC Form 742 Material Balance Report to NMMS, but NMMS produces a generated Material Balance Report based on facility-reported 741s. This generated report is used to assist in reconciliation. NRC reconciliation is like that of DOE reconciliation with a few nuances. The NRC licensee facility reports information to NMMS on DOE NRC Form 741, the Nuclear Material Transaction Report. That information is processed into NMMS, and the cumulative representation of that information will be reported on the facility reporting of the Material Status Report, the DOE NRC Form 742, and the DOE NRC Form 742C, which is the Material Balance Report and the Physical Inventory Listing, respectively. That information is also processed into NMMS. Note that the combination of the Form 742 and 742C is called the Material Status Report, the MSR. NMMS compares that information with the prior year reconciled inventory to the changes that have been reported during the current year. Note that the prior inventory that was reconciled last year in the prior year is reported, reconciled, and contained in NMMS and cannot be revised. The process of reconciliation is to compare facilities submitted MSR data to the generated inventory and material balance that NMMS produces from the facility's reported 741s. If all of this matches, the facility is reconciled with NMMS for the given reconciliation period. Usually, there are discrepancies that need to be resolved, setting a starting point for comparison of all the transactions for the year for this material balance period when compared to the information reported on the 742 Material Balance Report and the 742C Physical Inventory Listing. Additional facility reporting may be required to resolve these discrepancies. In a nutshell, the process of NRC reconciliation is based on information reported on the physical inventory listing, matching the information on the material balance report, and that's all matched up with the information reported to NMMS based on the 741 transactions that have been submitted during the period. In general, NMMS reconciliation is driven by NMMS receiving transactions from the facility noting the shipment or receipt of nuclear materials or reporting of any activity that has altered their inventory quantities. This reporting is based on time periods, what day and what month this activity occurred. NMMS processes these 741s and generates inventory and material balance tally balances of what the holdings of material are at the licensees during the year. The U.S. facility at the end of the year reports a physical inventory listing and a material balance report. Note that for DOE sites, NMMS generates the material balance report for the facility. These two reports should show the same balance that NMMS shows based on the transactions the facility has reported throughout the year. So we want the material balance report information totals to match up totals on the physical inventory listing. Additionally, both of those reports must match up with the data that is in the NMMS based on transactions that have been received throughout the year. Also, As part of the NMMS reconciliation process, the cumulative holdings of foreign obligations declared at the end of the material balance period must agree with generated obligation balances derived from transactional reporting. For each material type for the physical inventory listing report, verify that the sum of project number quantities and non-DOE owned quantities equal the nuclear material total line, the 899 line. Additionally, verify that the sum of project quantities equals the DOE owned ending balance on the material balance report. Finally, verify that the sum of non-DOE owned quantities equal the non-DOE owned ending balance on the material balance report. Remember that there are two critical areas relating to the material balance and physical inventory data with regards to reconciliation. The first area is the inventory totals for each type of nuclear material. This information is identified with the composition code 899. For each type of nuclear material, the total line must equal the combination of the DOE owned and non DOE owned ending balances on the material balance report. This is a crucial validation point with the material balance for NMMS reconciliation. But there's more when it comes to the physical inventory data. The second area involves the non-total lines in the physical inventory data and the field project number with the owner code G. Each project number by material type is validated with transactions based on cumulative project number totals. This is yet another important component of NMMS reconciliation. Also, remember the three key forms used in reconciliation: the DOE NRC Form 742 Material Balance Report, the DOE NRC Form 741 Nuclear Material Transaction Report, and the DOE NRC Form 742C Physical Inventory Listing. The data from each of these forms are key components of reconciliation and will be reviewed in detail in the presentations to follow. Regarding discrepancies during the reconciliation process, NMMS communicates with the DOE site or the NRC licensee facility to reach a resolution. Often, a facility may have to issue additional or correcting DOE NRC Form 741s. They may also have to correct a reported physical inventory listing or material balance report through resubmittal of the DOE NRC Form 742 or 742C. During reconciliation, pay particular attention to cumulative obligation totals by obligation country on the material balance records and project number totals on the physical inventory data. All must be reconciled. NMMS would like to remind DOE sites and NRC licensee facilities that NMMS report products are available on request to assist in internal management of their facility balances outside of the required reporting frequency. In summary, NMMS reconciliation consists of verifying the transaction activity recorded during the reporting period matches the reported inventory data, including project number balances, and material balance records, including obligation country balances. Material balance data must match physical inventory data. Thank you for your time. Contact NMMS should you have any additional questions on the importance of the material balance information in NMMS reporting and its impact on NMMS reconciliation.